What's going on, guys? Bruce Matson here, your host show, Metro Scout Fantasy Football, and today we're going over 5 wide receivers who could surprise us in Week 1. These are typically guys that are not in our lineups. Guys are probably on the waiver wire. We're not looking to start the guys I'm talking about today. We're just looking to see which wide receivers has the potential of surprising us this week. Cracking the top 10 wide receivers, cracking the top 20 wide receivers in scoring, surprising us that way, maybe become the hot waiver wire pickup of the week. They might be on your roster, they might be just sitting there, and they may cause confusion for you down the line, but these are some wide receivers that has something in their game, and they're in a matchup that could allow them to blossom here in Week 1. You know you always get 1 or 2 players each week that come out of nowhere, give you some results, and you're like, what the hell just happened? I figured this would be a good exercise to try and peg that down. I just did a video like this on the running backs. Check that back in the archives. You want to hit that up. But right now, we're going to dig into the wide receivers. Notice I got labeled sniper wide receivers because these guys, if they do hit, they're going to hit us out of nowhere. Then they're going to surprise us, just like a sniper would. But the first wide receiver, this isn't in any particular order, but maybe on some sites that have them ordered in rank or whatever, but this is not in any order. These are just guys that can surprise us. When they're surprise players, they shouldn't be in an order. It'd just be randos just doing things. But the first wide receiver here I'm going to talk about is Jahan Dotson, wide receiver for the Washington Commanders. And there's a lot of mystique around this player. He has been doing good things in training camp, making big catches. Carson Wentz likes him. We have a game here where it's supposed to be low scoring, 44 over under, so a low volume game, but he's been doing things. In camp, in preseason, he's been giving us the highlights. Carson Wentz is fond of him. He's a first round talent. Terry McLaurin's there, and we're expecting Terry McLaurin to suck up the target share. But what if Jahan Dotson is the surprise talent from this year's draft class and he blows up? What if he's good enough to command a 20% target share? 21, 22%, 18, 19. High enough to do that. And we get enough passing volume to really fuel him with that type of target share. And he's just good enough, maybe back in wide receiver 1 numbers, wide receiver 2 numbers, but enough to surprise us. That could happen. We have him as a first-round wide receiver who has some talent, has very sticky hands. Quarterback likes him. Doesn't have much competition in the offense other than Terry McLaurin, the running backs. It could happen. The target share could be there. We could see him surprise us this week. He also should be on somebody's roster in your league. If he's sitting there on waivers and you got a hole you want to burn off your roster, you may want to look at picking him up just and see, and just look at him as a speculative asset. Look at him as like Dogecoin or something like that. Maybe he goes to the moon. Maybe he falls on his face. But at least you're going to take your shot. Next wide receiver we're talking about here is Josh Palmer. He should be on a roster in your league. He should be. But there are leagues out there where he's sitting out on waivers. And if that's true, you may want to pick him up. I want him because he's high on the depth chart for the Chargers. I think 3rd wide receiver. He's got a prime matchup this week against the Raiders. 54 over under. This game's going to be lighting up the scoreboard. I looked at projections off some sites, and he is projected pretty low until it's like 7, 8 PPR fantasy points. And I think he has the potential to get a touchdown here. All the pass catchers on the Chargers has that potential due to how high volume the offense is and how high volume this game script's supposed to be. So he has the potential for that. He's going to be on the field. He's going to be getting some targets. I bet you he exceeds that 7 points projection. Push 10 double-digit targets, but could exceed expectations if he gets that red zone look. This is a blowout spot for him. he could do something in this game because this matchup could fuel that. He's in the AFC West. The AFC West teams playing against each other are going to have some blow-up matchups, and those types of players, a guy like a Josh Palmer on the back of your roster is nice to have because you know you can slide him in there at flex as a hope and pray option. Maybe it blows up for you. Some of you guys watching this might be starting Josh Palmer right now. You're inserting him in your lineups, and you're good to go. Third wide receiver here, KJ Hamler. At Seattle this week, 42 over under. Russell Wilson, revenge game. Big thing here, Tim Patrick out for the season. He's donezo. Hamler is the benefactor, wide receiver 3 on the team. This team should be more high volume, passing attack, more accurate passes going around. And Hamler's an air yards guy. He's going to get the deep targets. He's going to be targeted deep downfield. And he may not have a sexy target share. Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy's going to soak that up. Alberto, maybe a little bit. But if he gets hit on some of the air yards, converts some of those deep attempts, gets a couple of those, or get some yak plays, some yards after the catch, we might get some splash action from KJ Hamler, and that's what we're looking at. And he's in an offense that can fuel production. AFC West again, he's going to be in those matchups that are going to blow up. This isn't a blow-up spot against Seattle. Could be a slower game, or it could be a revenge game where they let Russell Wilson cook and kill them Seahawks, which I'm guessing there's a good chance of that happening. Hamler could have some good spots this year. You may want to think about him when he's on waivers, depending on your league size, depending on what's on your roster. Moving on. Russell Gage. Good matchup. Over under 50 against the Dallas Cowboys. The one thing I want to note, first thing, he's dealing with a hamstring issue. Limited participation in practice today. There's a chance he may not be on the field. But I'm throwing him in here anyways because he could be out there. And if he's out there, he's in a matchup that could fuel his production. Chris Godwin was a full participation in practice today and looks like he'll be playing. But that doesn't mean the targets will be going to him. And also doesn't mean Russell Gage will be on the field either. But if he's on the field, Brady's going to spread it around. He could get some targets, could get some red zone looks. If he's not on the field, just scratch him off. And plus, these are guys we're just watching. So if he's not on the field, that's just one less guy we have to watch. Last one, but not least, Quez Watkins has a matchup against the Detroit Lions, 48 over under. And this is another splash play guy, another guy that can get you air yards, another guy that can get you the yak. He is brutally fast and can get you that blow-up spot. He's going to have one or two games where he is productive this season because things are going to be cleared out for him. A.J. Brown's there. Devonta Smith soaking up targets on the other side. And no one is going to be covering Watkins that hard. So he's going to get opportunities every now and again to be able to produce. Will it be this week? This is a decent matchup. There should be decent volume in this game. So there's a chance Watkins gets his opportunity. If not, there'll probably be one or two games somewhere down the line he will. I'm not saying pick him up off waivers. I'm letting you know that maybe for DFS purposes, when the Eagles have a good matchup, a high over-under, a good spread, you sprinkle him in some of your tournament lineups. Or if injuries are killing you, he's on waivers and it's later in the season, maybe pick him up and see what happens. Put him in that flex, close your eyes and pray. He's got that kind of upside on any given week due to that speed, due to those air yards, that deep balls attempts. Deep balls are splash plays that can get you a lot of fantasy points like that. They are hard to convert. They're high acuity targets, but when they happen, they're magical. Will Fuller used to live off that when he used to be in the league, but now we got other air yards guys, KJ Hamler, Quez Watkins, that we can look forward to, and we just got to play the matchup with to see what happens. But those are just 5 wide receivers that could have blow up spots this week due to situation, due to matchups, and whatever else. There are other guys as well, but I was really looking deep in the rankings and looking at wide receivers that could really exceed expectations, that could really take us by surprise. There's other ones out there. There always will be, and I'll try to do more vids like this that think outside the box, that really helps you think to build your teams, build your lineups, and for redraft. And also, this really helps for DFS tournaments and maybe even cash games if you're looking for cheap wide receivers to fit in your lineups. Guys that are lesser in salary, that's also contrarian. That could give you an edge among a deep tournament. But I want to know what you think. What wide receivers are you looking at this week that you're keeping your eye on, that it's not necessarily on your fantasy team, maybe on the waivers, that you're seeing what they're going to do, how they're getting targeted, how many targets, or even if they're productive? Drop that in the comments below. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out. It really helps the video and the algorithm. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I'm dropping content like this all year long. I got ranking videos for running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks, and tight ends for week 1. Check those out in the archives if you haven't already. That'll help you with your lineups, and I'm going to be helping you out all season long. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next vid.